Picture this. It's August 1947. A new nation is born, right in the fire of partition. And in the middle of all that chaos, all that hope, it has to do something huge. Write the rule book for a brand new India. A constitution not for a colony, but for a free people. This is the story of how they pulled it off.
You've probably heard those incredible words from Jawaharlal Nehru. They perfectly capture the hope, but also, the sheer weight of that moment. India was finally free, but what was it going to be? That question, it was going to be answered in a grand assembly hall.
For 3 really intense years, the future of India was debated, it was argued over, and it was literally forged in what you could call the crucible of the Constituent Assembly. This was the room where it happened.
Now, just think about the scale of this for a second. We're talking about nearly 300 of the sharpest minds in the country, debating for over 165 days. This wasn't just some quiet writing project. Oh no. It was a clash of dreams, a battle of big ideas, and a massive negotiation between completely different visions for the future.
So to really understand the debates, you first have to get to know the main players, the architects, and their competing visions. And right at the heart of it all were 3 absolute giants, each with a very different idea of what India should become. First, you have the idealist, Jawaharlal Nehru. His vision, summed up in that beautiful phrase, "wipe every tear from every eye," was for a compassionate, almost utopian India that could heal the deep wounds of its past.
And then you have the pragmatist, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He was the reality check to Nehru's idealism. For him, talk was cheap. The most critical job, right then and there, was to forge unity out of chaos with an iron will if necessary. And then, the revolutionary Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. As the chairman of the drafting committee, he basically laid down an ultimatum. He said political freedom means nothing, it's a farce, without a social revolution to tear down centuries of inequality. For him, justice wasn't just an idea, it was completely non-negotiable.
Now, here's a twist. With the Muslim League boycotting the assembly, the Congress Party had this massive 82% majority. So you'd think, okay, easy peasy, they'll all agree, right? Well, you couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, the communist member Somnath Lahiri absolutely nailed it when he called it a political zoo. The Congress Party was this giant tent that had everyone inside: socialists, defenders of landlords, hardcore secularists, religious conservatives, you name it. And that diversity? Well, that's what set the stage for the biggest fights.
Okay, so this internal friction really lit the fuse for the great debates that would end up defining the very soul of the Indian Constitution. Let's jump into 3 of the most important showdowns.
First up was a really explosive issue left over from the British: the system of separate electorates. Basically, this meant that certain minorities could only vote for candidates from their own community, so the assembly was completely split. Was this a vital protection, or was it a poison designed to keep India divided?
The argument for it was made really forcefully by members like B. Parker Bahadur from Madras. He basically said, look, this is the only way to guarantee that minority voices are actually heard and that their interests are properly represented. But Sardar Patel's reply was immediate, and it was furious. He saw separate electorates as the very thing that caused all the division, the bloodshed, and the tragedy of partition. To him, it was a poison the British had left behind, and it had to be ripped out for the nation to have any chance of healing. All right, the next huge battle was about power itself. For a country as massive and diverse as India, where should the real authority be? Should it be with a strong central government in Delhi, or should it be with the individual states and provinces? So on one side, you had people like K. Santhanam arguing for powerful states. They warned that a top-heavy central government just wouldn't work and would bankrupt the provinces. But on the other side, Dr. Ambedkar, still haunted by the violence of partition, argued that only a strong center could stop communal madness and defend the country. In the end, it was that fresh, painful memory of violence that gave the argument for a strong center the edge it needed.
But maybe the most emotional, the most heated, the most bitter debate of all came down to a single question. What language would this new nation speak? Could there really be just one national language? The supporters of Hindi were, they were incredibly aggressive. Just listen to this outburst from R.V. Dulekar. His demand that anyone who didn't know Hindustani should just get up and leave the assembly, that sent absolute shockwaves through the hall. And the response from the South, voiced so calmly but firmly by G. Durgabai, was one of total shock and fear. They saw this not as a move toward unity, but as an attack an attempt to erase their own powerful languages and cultures. The fight got so nasty that really a compromise was the only way out. So Hindi became the official language, not the national language, and English was kept for official use. So after years of these fiery debates, all the arguments and compromises had to be hammered into one single, coherent legal document. And that enormous job fell to some of the unsung heroes working away behind the scenes.
While big names like Ambedkar were leading the charge in public, the real intellectual heavy lifting was done by these heroes. You had the constitutional advisor, B.N. Rao, who studied constitutions from all over the world for ideas, and then the chief draftsman, S.N. Mukherjee, who had this unbelievable talent for turning messy, complicated debates into crystal-clear legal text.
And the result of all their work? It was just staggering. The final document became the longest constitution anywhere in the world. The records of the discussions that created it filled 11 enormous books. This was a truly colossal project, and it was steered to the finish line by the committee's chairman, Dr. Ambedkar.
On January 26, 1950, the Constitution finally came into effect, and the Republic of India was officially born. But this amazing moment of creation also came with a powerful legacy, and a pretty profound warning for the future.
I mean, just stop and think about this for a moment. In a country that was largely poor and where most people couldn't read or write, the framers made this incredibly radical bet. In one single stroke, they gave every single adult citizen the right to vote. That was a leap of faith that older democracies like the US and the UK took centuries to make.
And we're going to end with this. In his final speech, Dr. Ambedkar left everyone with a critical question that still echoes today. He celebrated political equality, the idea of one person, one vote. But he warned that this new political democracy was being built on a foundation of deep social and economic inequality. So the question he leaves us with is, how long can a building stand when its very foundation is a contradiction?